What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Real Estate Reserve Podcast, number one real estate investing podcast in the entire world. I'm sitting next to Ian Horowitz. I'm Jason Bell from Hard Money Bankers. Ian Horowitz from Equity Warehouse. Got a great topic, current market conditions. We are going to dive into that in a second, but I feel like that's really relevant with what has been going on recently. And to be honest, over the last few months, I feel like the current market conditions maybe weren't reflected on what was happening inside the real estate investing community, but I think things have been creeping up, and we'll go through some insights that we've both been seeing. If anyone has their own comments or opinions of what they're seeing and you want to hop on the show, feel free to put it in the comment section, and we will make sure to give you a chance to say your piece.
I mean, I got a question. This podcast is delayed by about 16 minutes because we just finished doing a closing on our most recent storage fund. Do you think we're insane for still buying properties right now? Because there's a lot of people going back and forth saying, yo, dude, like, what are you doing? You're insane. Like, why are you doing this or why are you doing that? And it's like, nah, man, like, there's still always going to be good deals, whether the market's up or the market's down. It's kind of like cost basis averaging, or whatever they call that in the stock world. I believe there's still going to be good opportunities. And as people are running out, we're running in. Coincidentally, that's kind of funny because we used to be firemen, right? So, I mean, I guess I would ask you, and I know there's a lot of stuff for us to get through. I know you got some content lined up for us to jump on and talk about. But, I mean, from your side, I feel like the lenders kind of see it first. What are you seeing on your side from deal flow?
Well, I mean, in any kind of interesting muddy waters markets, the bigger institutional backed capital sources typically see this ahead of us, see this first. The bigger the investor, the bigger parties, they kind of see the writing on the wall and they know how to pivot and adapt. We've seen a lot of institutional backed capital sources in the private land, in the hard money space. Dry up's not the right word. They have a lot of pressure on their interest rates, so their interest rates are higher. Their underwriting criteria is stricter, and in essence, I think they're having a hard time deploying the amounts of capital that they were deploying months ago. Because any big business, big setup, they want to be in markets and they want to be in asset classes that can absorb high amounts of capital all at once. Inside our, we can call it a mini business on a macro level. We only do $45 million a year in a few local markets, but our lead flow has been lower. Our lead quality has been higher. So what I think that means is there's less opportunities. There's less folks that are out there trying to get into deals, but the ones that are involved are more qualified and in essence are able to capture the lion's share of what's in the market.
Right. And I would tend to believe that you just said, like, one of the things that you said is that, like, you've got better quality lead flow, and some of that's probably from your risk aversion that allows you to put some better deals together. But on the other side of that, I think your better operators are the ones coming to the forefront. I mean, would you say that that's true? Sure, there's still newbies. Newbies are jumping in every day. Operators are always going to have opportunity. But do you think you're seeing more deals from your consistent borrowers, or is your lead flow more of new people jumping into real estate? Because I'll tell you what we got going on our side from a capital.
So, I mean, I think it's better quality, or the average. The average ones are higher quality. That could be a newer investor or a repeat investor. The newer investor that typically is jumping in right now is somebody that I don't think says, "Oh, hey, I'm missing out. I want to get in." Like, there's no more 100% financing, or that's rare, I should say. It's the ones that have put in their time. They've put in their sweat equity. They're committed to this. They're willing to go all in on it. They have capital. They're still learning, but that's okay. Like, they're committed to it. the what's happened over the last 10-year span was let's go on MLS and find a deal and go buy it and flip it and make a profit. Great, that worked. Let's do it again, and let's do it again, and let's do it again. And guess what? It works until it doesn't work. And guess what? You don't really learn all that much from it, right? Because when everything works out fine, you think that's how things will continue that way. And hopefully that is the case, but a lot of the times it's not. I mean, I feel like there's too many operators out there that don't understand the key principles of running a business. It doesn't matter if you're lending or if you're investing or if you're operating and you're buying rental properties. It doesn't matter. When things are good, and everything's on an upward cycle, that's fine. But I think we're at a point right now that a lot of people, that if they're buying the way that they did in the past and they skyrocket their operation, it's going to unfortunately come crashing down unless right now they put key principles in place in order to learn how to execute, learn how to manage contractors, learn how to perform. So to answer your question, it's a little bit of both, but I would say as a whole, there's just more qualified, more savvy, more hungry people that are willing to not take no for an answer, that want to do this. They know it's and I mean, keep in mind, you can get yourself into maybe not an awful investment, but like not the best investment opportunity in real estate and still typically do okay with it for multiple reasons, right? Maybe you can operate it better than somebody else, or maybe you're able to cut costs somewhere else that somebody wouldn't. So I think it's just, more ambitious, qualified folks. But that's just what I see on our end.
Yeah, and I would say on our end, we're seeing today we had a long talk with a capital investor, and we've had it with a few of our other capital investors, is that a little shake up in the market, man. People are like looking for other opportunities, and that's not always right either. But it's provided us some opportunity to get more people into real estate, which has been fun. On the other side of that, I think the deal flow has gotten a little bit better, especially if you can withstand the storm, and knowing that you can get a little bit better buy now with a little bit reduction in cash flow because you're buying at a little higher cap rate, knowing that if rates can get back to a little bit lower position, you potentially bought yourself some additional equity that you weren't expecting. I'm not going to underwrite that. I'm not going to count on that. I'm not going to expect it. However, in the same sense, it's something that is in the back of my mind to say, oh shit, well now we can start buying stuff at 7-8 caps. When we had to buy stuff at 6-7 caps over the past few months, almost the past year. I mean, think about this, dude. Literally a year ago, November 6th is when we closed Squarespace Storage Fund 1. And our interest rate was 3.125. And today we're looking at stuff, interest rates in the 6% rate for some commercial stuff. And I don't think that's going to last, right? Every time there's volatility, it gets worse and worse and worse. So I believe that the future, and we could sit here and debate about how bad it is, but what does that do? That's no production, right? Like other than getting out and vote and being producers of society, right? Like there's not much else that you can do. You got to continue to do.
Where did you get that money from?
And who's that? Is that Glenn?
No,
but anyway, is like you still gotta get out there and do stuff, right? And with that being said, I think the future is going to hold a lot of opportunity for those that can create creative deals, creative financing, source off-market deals where people are looking to save a few dollars by not going through brokers, not really caring about top dollar right now. I believe that's where the overall opportunity is going to lie over the next 12 months, maybe even 24 months, depending how much of a pessimist you are, and thinking that this might not get resolved till 2024, because a lot of this is probably in congruence with the with some of the political cycles that we have going on as well. So
so think about this. Typically, there's 3 components of a deal to determine, if you can make it a good deal or a bad deal. And obviously, if you can have all 3 of these, it works out great. But you need some of these. Like, for instance, number 1 is your acquisition costs, right? You have your acquisition costs, you have your capital costs, and in the middle, you have your operating expenses, vendor costs, things like that. So, like, for instance, if you get a cheap property and you can operate it with very little overhead. Maybe your construction is low, plus you have low capital. You have all of those things. Under market value, under cheap capital, cheap costs. Like there's a lot of profit potential on that. And on the other side, you don't want to overpay for a property, have expensive capital like we potentially have now in the marketplace, and your cost of goods and your labor are expensive, and all your vendor expenses, that's high as well. But that doesn't mean that in a market like today, maybe it seems like somebody might be overpaying for a property right now. But there's other components that potentially make it a good deal. Or maybe the argument is, hey, you're paying 6% for your commercial capital right now. And then your argument back is, you're right, I am paying 6% for my capital right now. But yesterday, this property was $2 million. Today, this property is 1.5. And yeah, I'm paying a higher interest rate, but what does it matter? It makes sense. And guess what? The missing thing that a lot of these folks don't have is the operational ability to perform on a real estate transaction. And if you can operate inside that, you can make a so-so deal a great deal, or a deal that somebody might not want to mess with a great deal, because you can operate. So those are kind of three things that you got to think through on all of these deals. And that's why it doesn't matter if money's expensive or money's cheap or housing prices are high or building prices are low. You take all of those things are taken in consideration when you do a deal.
Yep. And one of the things we're going to be discussing at our upcoming mastermind here in Baltimore in November, and we wound up filling the last 2 seats. So if you guys are interested, feel free to DM me. The next one will be in May. With that being said, one of the real hot topics, and I was talking with the speaker today about it, is discussing capital allocation, capital preservation, and how to monetize your deals over the next 12 to 24, maybe even 36 months. How much cash should you have on hand? How are you going to operate your deals? What happens if cash flow goes down? How much can you stress test your properties? What are your pro formas looking like? How are you adjusting your underwriting, right? Like all these things tie together. And I did a talk recently out at the Storage Rebellion about checking your KPIs and pressure testing your P&Ls against your original pro formas. And it's really interesting to see what is happening in real time versus what your expectation on your pro forma was, and how much cash that you should have on hand. And just looking at all these all these data points, it becomes more and more obvious that if you don't already know this, I'm going to give you guys a little pro tip here. If you guys don't already know this, you make your money on the buy. You do not make your money. You make some money while you're operating and executing your deal, and you make all your money at the end. But every single dollar that you're going to make over that time frame is made the day you underwrite that deal and you understand what you expect to happen. The rest is really just risk mitigation all the way through the whole thing. And I think that's where Jason has a competitive advantage of being a lender and looking at a lot of deals and adjusting risk aversion as the market's changing and adjusting potential LTVs and going from there. So,
yeah, I mean, and also, a lot of folks might call themselves investors, but they treat their businesses like they're traders, right? Investors typically hold on for long period of times. So guess what? Let's say I buy a property today for $100,000, and in 30 years from now, right? I'm planning to hold it forever. 30 years from now, just like a retirement plan in a stock portfolio and a retirement plan. Who cares? You don't have to look at the value of that property next year or 5 years from now. It doesn't matter what it's worth then, because it's a long-term plan. And that's why you always have to have your exit strategy and a game plan in place of what you're going to do. So let's say you buy a property for $100,000 today. Game plan is to be worth $300,000 in 20 years or 30 years for retirement or for give to one of your kids, whatever the case is. That property is going to go up. That property is going to go down. Property is going to go up. That property is going to go down. And who cares? It doesn't matter. And that's what I think a lot of folks stay away from. I mean, you're playing that trading game. It doesn't matter if you're day trading a property or flipping a property, or day trading a stock portfolio or flipping a property. It's kind of the same thing. If you get in at the right time, as things are continuing to go up, you're going to make a fortune. And we all see that on the screen. Thanks.
Well, I think people need to be depicted. They really do. They really do. We're really going all out on production on this show. This is legit, though. This is the conversation we're having today.
Well, okay. Well, listen, Chris and I were talking about this 7 minutes ago. Well, we started the show 15 minutes ago. So 27 minutes ago, let's call it. Because I just talked to somebody and they do deals with secondary market institutional back capital, and it's a disaster kind of behind the scenes, one of their capital sources. And long story short, I was like, listen, all of these guys have made, and a lot of folks probably are in this situation. And obviously there's ways to get out of it, but they've skyrocketed so much over the last few years, and they've made a fortune. And like, would you rather skyrocket and make a fortune really, really quickly just for that all to potentially fall apart? Or would you rather just be slow and steady and do the right things in the long play over and over and over? Too many people chase shiny objects. They need big hits. They need home runs. They need large sums of things. And the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. And a lot of those times it goes up and then goes back down. And then potentially it goes back up and then goes back down again. That being said, I've always had the core philosophy of like, put a snowball in place, like real good key principles, processes operating, and do really, 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 really well, and continue to go up slowly over time, but have that big kind of snowball in place that if even though that momentum can't slow you down, let's say it does, and it pushes you back a little bit. You don't go from all to nothing. You just continue to grow and grow, because let's be honest, I think a lot of people want to make a lot of money very, very, very quickly, but the game plan is to have a good, solid business that lasts for a long time.
Well, okay.
What's the purpose of making a ton of money if you're just going to potentially lose it?
Well, right, and that's the whole conversation. Now that we're going to get so far away from current market conditions, but a lot of the current market conditions are congruent with how you utilize your business, right? And I'm not going to use the word vision, but what's the true definition of success? And this is something that we're probably going to debate at the mastermind as well. Is what's the true definition of success? A business that is sustainable, that can withstand anything, that operates without you putting input into it all the time. Is that success? Is financial being success? Is being a complete life person success? What's the right answer? There is none. But what there is you need to understand what you're looking and setting out to go and do, and what goals you're trying to accomplish. My goals have changed. Well, they literally change every single day, but my goals have changed a lot. Like, someone just asked us how long we've been in business. To say we've been in business for 10 years, it's like a really proud moment. And it's very powerful to tell someone you've been in business for 10 years, but then to look back what you've accomplished in a 10-year period is just absolutely insane. And yeah, this is the first time everyone's starting to see bumps and bruises from when we got in, and you guys were a little ahead of the curve. So you've been through one cycle. To see this cycle go down, knowing where we are and where we believe and how we can tolerate with what's potentially about to happen. I mean, one of our biggest growth spurts was in 2014 when everyone had PTSD from 2008. And then when COVID hit, everybody's like, oh, this is the next 2008. And we had exponential growth because we were able to navigate it. And I don't know, man. There's a ton to talk about. And again,
but keep this in mind. A lot of people that are vocal about the 2008 cycle are the ones that got killed
or were doing dumb shit, right? Like,
yeah,
they were doing something not right.
I know lots of people that were in a great spot and they didn't get affected. Did their portfolios decrease? Heck yeah. If you've been in the stock market the last 6 months, your portfolio decreased, right? Like, that's always going to happen. Their portfolio decreased, but they weren't assholes from the beginning and just skyrocketed and then came crumbling down. I mean, the vocal people are, but there's a lot of folks that weren't. Did people take hits? Absolutely. But did it put them out of business? No. They took a hit to their portfolio and they moved on, and they wrote good loans. They continued to buy properties. They kept liquid powder to buy up tons and tons of stuff. I mean, a lot of people that are vocal about it, they made a ton of money, and in 2008 they lost it all, and then they didn't get back into the game until a few years ago. The successful ones, they took small hits to their portfolio, and they were in a position with resources and liquidity to buy up at the bottom. They didn't know it was the bottom at that point. They were like, let's say this was the top. They were buying here, they're 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 buying here, and they continued to buy what made the most sense. And Ian, I'm gonna let you answer William's question here on the screen in a second. We'll put him on the screen. But more importantly, there's always a good time to buy, and there's always a good time to sell. It just depends on the situation and the right number. The property that you bought 3 months ago for, not you, but in general, if you bought a property 3 months ago for $100,000 at a so-and-so interest rate, and it needed this much construction, and your after repair value was this, and there was this much inventory in the market, let's just say it was like a fix and flip or whatever, is different than the one you're buying today. It's always going to differ.
Right.
Would you rather buy a property for $125,000 with a 3% interest rate, or would you buy a property at let's say $125,000 with a 3% interest rate, or would you buy that property at $80,000 with a 10% interest rate? That answer differs depending on the situation. Those might be equal in purchasing power, but it's a different situation depending on it. I mean, we had a conversation the other day where you asked me my opinion, and neither one of our opinions are right or wrong. It's just an opinion. Is, hey, I have a very low interest rate on one of my portfolios. Do you think it makes sense to refinance into a much higher rate for this portfolio? Because the benefits of me refinancing is I can pay off some of my capital investors, which in essence then could redeploy into new projects. We could take some chips off the table. Like, what makes the most sense? And it wasn't like, why would you leave a 3% rate to get a 7% rate or 6% rate? That's stupid. It was that actually in this particular case could be logical.
Yep, 100%. But that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people don't treat their real estate portfolio as a true business. And they treat it as a hobby, and they get hobby results when you're doing hobby things, right? And taking the time to treat it like a business, go through your P&Ls, figure out how much cash you need to have on hand, creating a business around it forces you to have these conversations to say, what do I do from a capital allocation standpoint? That's a legit problem that we all deal with. And even Jason in his more transactional business deals with it. Go ahead with this question. What we got?
All right. So William's question is, I'm looking to purchase my first rental property this year, beginning of 2023. With the current market issues, what's the best way to get into a rental today?
Yeah, we hit on it a little bit earlier. I'll tell you what, I think those that are willing to go and turn over off-market leads, being direct to seller right now, and I'm not a big direct to seller guy. I am big with dealing in the broker community or going on MLS. I believe those that are willing to take the time, energy, and effort to uncover off-market deals are going to be ahead of the curve. And those that can structure creative financing, subject to owner finance, master leases, anything there in between are going to be so far ahead of the game, because people are going to be willing to get out, move out of the way, and let other people deal with headaches that are coming down the pike, especially in the residential world with a lot of the landlord laws that we deal with here in Maryland. People not wanting to deal with the new interest rates, refinancing, having trouble selling, whatever it may be, and staying out of foreclosure, I think is probably one of the biggest opportunities. There's some big marketers out there right now doing a ton of content on it. We can name drop. I mean, my buddy Stratton's hosting, Stratton Brown out in Fresno is hosting Pace Morby and Jameel. That's all they teach. That's all they do is subject to and owner financing deals. And I think it's going to be one of the hottest things people can do over the next 24 months. And you already see everybody posting about it.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to get a 3% mortgage anytime soon.
Nope.
So subject twos are the best, because someone might not have any equity into a property, but guess what? They got a cheap interest rate. So you can get in that and create.
This goes back to our conversation we were having about refinancing the portfolio or selling it. If someone could buy it and get 40 or 50% of the money at our 3% interest rate and assume that, is that more of a sellable asset than someone comes in and buys it for the price and then gets 70% money at the new rate, right? Like, and that's where we were having the debate about refinancing it, recapitalizing it, and having cash on hand and taking chips off the table or are we going down the road of a sale and having this super low interest rate and locked in for a hot period of time? So it's a real interesting thing to navigate. And we will keep you guys posted on what happens with this portfolio over the next several months.
Well, and if you didn't listen to episode number 123 with Derek Dombeck, take a look go in and listen to that episode again. So, a lot of it was finding deals, marketing and finding off-market deals. And whenever he's negotiating with a seller, he typically gives them 3 options, right? So I don't want to butcher this, but this is what it, for the most part, is. So option 1 is I'll give you a full cash offer, right? You want a full cash offer? You want to close quick, right? On the back end, he's using private capital or whatever the case is, hard money. Full cash offer, I'm going to give you call it $75,000, right? The lowest offer is all cash, right? If you want me to, if you want $75,000. If you want a $90,000 offer, well, then you're going to give me 30 days to close, and I'm going to go get a bank, and I'm going to go get a bank loan. Or if you want a $110,000 offer, you're going to seller finance the thing for me. And I don't need any cash out of pocket. I mean, he's not necessarily explaining all of the back end intricacies about it, but that's kind of the way you look at it. Is there's multiple different ways to acquire all these things. What makes the most sense in the current environment? Anything on this part, or I want to, we want to switch. I want to switch gears a little bit to this Gary Vee post that he's been posting the last few days. But
listen, guys, what do they tell hitters when they're swinging the bat and when they keep striking out, staring at a pitch? Go swing at something that you like, right? And now is the time to go out and continue to look at pitches and swing the bat when you see something that you think makes sense to you, and continue to do deals. This is not me being optimistic and saying nothing's wrong. This is me telling you, don't, just because other people are bitching, don't listen to them. You got to do what's right for you and your family and take down the deals that you believe are right. And no matter what the market condition is, there's always going to be opportunity. You just need to know how to fit it in to what's going on in the current market condition.
And guess what? You need cash flow to continue to come in, and you need income and money to continue to come in during all of this. And, if you're in a position right now where, you were fast and loose and you did a lot of deals and you made a lot of money, and now some of that's dried up, you might have to kind of unravel a little bit and put the basics back in place in order to do so. We've talked about this in the past. Some of the best real estate investors that I know are the ones that have full-time jobs, and then they invest on the side. They do a few deals a year, and they have their core stable business. I mean, that's what all the big real estate investors and gurus will always talk about, is you have your cash flow and then you have your windfalls, right? You have your rental properties or your whatever, your full-time job. It doesn't matter. There's some sort of portfolio that's paying your day-to-day. So you can go out there, not necessarily swing for the fences, but you can go out there and be creative and get yourself involved in a deal that's going to give you a good amount of money, but you're not reliant on that deal closing. The worst thing to ever feel is have to be reliant on your next deal or your next closing. That's not fun. Oh, you want me to play this real quick?
Yeah, let's take a listen to this. I think it's really good for everyone.
All right, I'm going to turn this up so you can hear it. If you can't, give me a thumbs. It doesn't matter. You'll be able to hear it. Hang tight.
Oh, I love this. I've got to get on this headline. So many people underestimating how scary it may get in the next 3 to 6 months.
What happened? Disappeared. Can't hear anything. You hit mute, Jay.
Thoughtful
You hit
about
mute.
houses, cars, renovations. If you're not sitting with a fuckload of savings, don't get crazy now. This is not the time to fucking flex. Be thoughtful, be smart, and then forget about big purchases, small purchases that add up. Ubers, expensive coffees, 7 streaming services when you only use 2. Get thoughtful. Look at that credit card statement and see how many things you're paying for each month that you haven't canceled yet. Start getting smart, because it's hairy out there.
Yeah, so I could you hear all that, Ian?
Yep. Yeah. He said, don't be an idiot with your money. Something that we talk about a lot, but
Well, well, it's not just your personal money; it's your business money as well. Like what you're investing in, what you're not investing in. I mean, the days, yesterday is gone, and it's not coming. It's not coming back. There's always good times and there's bad times. Sometimes you can be fast and loose or do bad deals and still capitalize on them. I think any mistake is going to be exploited currently. So you just got to be smart about stuff, and hopefully folks, and listen, this isn't, I think that the days of easy real estate transactions, it doesn't matter if you're a real estate investor, a real estate agent, or a title company, or an appraiser, or a mortgage broker. I mean, this applies to everybody. If you took the path of least resistance and it worked out, that's fine. But that path might not exist anymore. Now you got to find a new path to do so. I mean, I've gotten a lot of people that have marketed to me to refer them business recently, more just out of the last few weeks than forever, because it shows that there's not many refinances going. There's a lack of inventory that's out there. There's less deals to be had. That doesn't mean that any of those professions aren't a good profession. A lot of hard money lenders aren't doing stuff anymore because they don't have the volume that they had in the past. You pivot, you adjust. It's not a big deal. That's what happens. That's what happens in any cycle and in any business. And listen, if you didn't have a good marketing plan or business initiatives in the past, well, now's a great time to start.
Yeah, no, and leading into your core business, I think is really what, if you want to take it away from a business standpoint of what Gary Vee was saying, is lean into your core business. Now's not the time to take $100,000 off chips off the table. That's fine. You can do that, but then don't go and take it and dump it into crypto right now. And it's not your core business, and you don't understand the inherent core values behind crypto or stocks or anything else, because you're trying to chase the next best thing. Now's the time where you're going to get damaged really easy. And staying inside your core business values, Jason's not going to just magically go out and start doing, I don't know, whatever. You're not going to open a car wash, right? But now maybe if things are super good and cash is flowing and, opportunity seems to be endless, you might be a little more risky in your risk tolerance, but now's not the time to do that. And it's going to be interesting. I really do think. I think we should do a show up here coming up where we have a bunch of people come in and talk about what they're seeing in the market, because we're hearing it a lot from a lot of our vendors. I feel like title and lenders see it first, brokers see it next, real estate operators are the last ones to see it. And I think those that are good real estate operators, your vendors are going to be attracted to you, call you up with off-market deals, help you get deals across the closing table, because they want to eat. You got to remember, a lot of these brokers, dude, it was feast time. It's about to be famine. They still need to do deals. They went out and bought the cars and the houses, right? Sales type personalities they're not looking at the future. It's always going to be this good. Now's the time to call the brokers that you've been working with and say, hey, what do you got? What inventory do you need to move? I have cash. I'm ready to go. Let's go. I don't know, man. We could sit here and talk about the current market conditions and say the end of the world's coming, or you can be positive and say, you know what, this is a chance to have an opportunity to go out and kill and have opportunity to do and get better looks at better deals. I'll tell you what, man, my inbox is on fire. My phone rings every day. I can't get through my days without at least one broker calling me, say, hey, dude, do you want to write on this deal? Can you please just send me an offer? I don't care if you're $2 or $3 million off on a $5 million or a $10 million deal. I mean, that's a lot. We're talking about 20%, 30% from brokers, because they're trying to get deals across the table. And I think now's the time to just go out and pound the phone, man. I mean, that's all you can do. All you can do is continue to put in the work, and just go for it, man. Most people aren't willing to put in the work. And when things get tough, most people bail out. Now's the time to dig in and go for it and do what you want to do.
Well, we've told the story before about this real estate agent in Philadelphia that my partner Ian in Philly recently interviewed. It was a good interview, and my partner Chris locally interviewed him as well. And this is his third cycle. And who knows if this is even going to be a down cycle, but you never know, right? But anyways, this is his third or fourth cycle since being in business. And we always, you always ask people like, hey, what are your key takeaways? What are you doing to prepare? What's one big mistake you made that you're not going to make before, that you're not going to make again, and things like that. And he said, during times like this, he goes all in on marketing, right? Like everybody's pulling back, right? Like how much sense does that make? Hey, we're all doing less deals, so let's cut our budget and not spend money on the lifeblood of our business, which is marketing, right? So most people cut back on that, which is dumb. He goes all in on that. So, he takes his, nest eggs or savings account and says, hey, because he's mostly he's a big investor, but he also is a big real estate agent. And he's like, I know that a lot of the real estate agents are going to kind of fade away or, be doing less volume. They want to cut costs and cut budget. Hey, even if I make less money right now, I'm going all in on marketing because that share will just go significantly higher because of it. So that's one recommendation I would have. And that's what we always do. I mean, we're always big marketers, digitally, paid, offline, online, whatever we can do. We want to have as much exposure because let's be honest, the best marketer wins, not the best operator or real estate investor, the best marketer who does the most deals. If I'm looking at 10 deals a day and Ian's looking at 1 deal a day, who's going to have a better deal? I
thought you were going somewhere else with that. I almost had to stop you there for a second, boy.
Why?
You said whoever does the most deals is the better operator, and I think we both tend to agree that
whoever does the most whoever does the most marketing will have the best deals.
Yes, there you go.
Okay. Is that not what I said?
No, you said whoever does the most deals is the best, and I was like, well, shit, sign me up. I'm in. We're changing our thought process.
I want to do the least amount of deals and the most profitable ones out there. That's all I care about. I don't want to do lots and lots of deals. I want to do the least amount, but the profitable. No, whoever has access or whoever markets and gets the best deals will have, or who markets and gets the most deals will have the best deals. It's that simple. If Ian's sitting around all day with his thumb, and he gets, a call here and there, and he has like 1 or 2 deals to choose from this week or this month, and I'm out there and I'm getting 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 leads, my deals are going to be better. And guess what? Like, think about it like this. Think about the two, the 2 biggest real estate investors you might know, right? Chances are those guys are probably not the best real estate investors. They're just the biggest. And the reason that they're the biggest is because they get the most deals, the most deal flow. That's why they're the biggest. Not because they're the best. There's way better real estate investors and lenders than me. But I get more deals than them because I spend time on generating more business.
Well, and people ask me all the time, how do you get all these looks? Dude, I pound the phone when I'm bored. I pick up the phone and call brokers. Some people pick up the phone and call sellers, but my time invested is better with brokers and mortgage companies and vendors and investors, right? Like, that's where I want to spend my time. I know I said people going to do off-market deals are going to be ahead of the curve. They'll be ahead of the curve over me because they're going to get more interesting looks than what I'll be able to get. But in the same sense, I'd rather curate my broker list and have them go out and find me deals when it's famine time and be like, well, I know Ian's willing to buy deals. I'm going to find him deals. I'm going to go look for him, right? Like, I'd rather have a crew of people out there looking and sourcing us deals versus me having to start and stop over and over and over again with every seller, right? Like, I like the idea of doing off-market deals, but in the same sense, for me and for what our business is, to have the churn like Jason's talking about, looking at more deals, having more conversations about more deals, knowing what's going on with the market because we're looking at more deals. To me, that's the way to do it as a real estate operator for what we do. But everybody needs to do a little bit different. And Jason's right. Don't cut off your marketing. Now's the time to go all in on marketing, right? Like, that's the lifeline of your business. So for me, instead of spending money on marketing dollars, I'm going to spend money on conferences. I'm going to spend money on lunches and taking brokers out and talking to them and finding out what's going on. I'm going to spend my time when I'm in the car driving, not calling Jay to say, hey man, what's going on? And just kind of like we bullshit because we always got great conversation. I might say, you know what, Jay, I'm going to skip calling Jay today. I'm going to call 3 brokers to find out what they got. What do they have laying around? What do they need to get rid of? What can I offer on? What's in the pipeline, right? Because you got to remember, as brokers start to feel the famine, they're also going to start to turn it down. They're going to start to clam up. They're going to say, oh, I can't spend money on marketing. We're not getting enough deals through the front door, right? And until they know that they got someone like me or Jason or a good sophisticated real estate operator to produce lead for, they're not going to waste their time. I say, oh, the market's upside down. Why am I going to waste my time? I'll just wait till it gets better. So, know your vision, know what you want to do. So that's all I got. I don't know where I was going, but it felt good. I'm just really conceptualizing my business in real time with everybody else, right? I'm not justifying what we do, but I'm talking it out here. Like, this is why we jump on these podcasts to talk it out and find out what is working for us and what's not, and it's just interesting to see what other people do. This is why we host masterminds. This is why we're a part of groups. This is why we have our own internal groups to find out what's going on, to hear from other operators all across the country and understand how we can change our business, hear from other industries. I mean, I'm really looking forward. Jay's got I don't want to put him on blast, but he's got a private event that he's invited me to that I'm excited to hear from all those people, because a lot of people coming in from out of state. I have an event that's going on. I'm super excited because a lot of people out of state with different asset classes. That 2-week run and then headed out to go see Stratton out in California, finding out what's going on the other side of the country. It's going to be really good.
I will say, since I work with a lot of other private lenders in different markets throughout the country, and I will say that it is interesting because it is different in a lot of different markets. A lot of people have the whole, when I say, let me guess, supplies down, and there's just not a lot of active listings, that's typically the case. But the market is different. All of these lenders are structuring things differently, and some of them are really scared in some markets. Some of them, they've seen a lot of consistency in a good way. So it's interesting to see where that how it all shakes up. But again, to bring this whole thing back to the beginning, go all in on marketing. Make sure you continue to have good opportunities that come in the door, and figure out ways to be creative to make it work. The number you paid yesterday isn't the number you have to pay today, and that's okay. Every one of these deals is a new investment. Your buying strategy can change. Your capital stack definitely changed. Cost of capital typically changed. Yeah. So on the front end, everything else can change. Ian, any final last words before we cut it out? And for everyone watching this live, it's Thursday, October 20th. We should probably document that. And this upcoming week, we actually have a good guest that we're interviewing as well. So we'll have another pod out here for you shortly. What day is that? Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I'm excited for that because he's also coming to speak at the mastermind event and provide a ton of value over there. Super excited for that. If you guys are interested, like I said, all of our seats are filled up, but feel free to shoot me a DM and I can get you on the list potentially for the next one if we have any seats open up. If you're looking to, expand your business and understand how to grow your business and scale it effectively, you'll see some more stuff about that as well. But guys, don't be scared. Just remember, do the deals that are right for you. Excited to see what happens over the next 24 months. I'm not a pessimist. I know it's going to be rough. There's going to be really bad days. There's going to be really good days. But over the next 24 months, we should be good to go. And there's going to be some sort of opportunity no matter what you think. So, guys, appreciate you. Number one podcast in the whole universe.
Peace out.
Later.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve podcast. Do us a favor and like, comment, and share our broadcast. It helps the algorithm and helps us spread the word too. Till next time, thank you for tuning in.